Hello, my name is Harper, and today I wanted to talk about my opinions on transgender children. There are a lot of mixed views about this and a lot of very strong views, especially about, transgender children transitioning. So, my opinion on transgender kids, specifically transgender kids transitioning. When I talk about transgender kids, I'm talking about kids like from the ages of probably around 3 to around 14, I'd say. That's a pretty big range, but that is generally the age range that people have issues with. So my opinion is that we should allow trans kids to identify as trans. I don't think there's anything wrong with, these kids being allowed to, think of themselves in a certain way and identify a certain way. I think that it is generally more damaging to tell your kid that they are not trans and not accept them than it is to just accept them. And accepting your trans kid as trans is not abusive, I don't think. You're not harming this kid. They want to do something and identify in a certain way that is not harming them, it's not harming anybody else. And so I think it's harmless. In terms of transitioning, there are many different ways of transitioning. There are 3 main types that I can think of, which is social transitioning, physically transitioning, and legally transitioning. So socially transitioning just means that to the outside world, you are how you identify. Say, for example, you are a trans masculine person or male trans person, like a binary trans person, then society would view you as a man, view you as, male with whatever name you've chose, like he, him pronouns. That's what social transitioning is. Legally transitioning is when you legally change all your documentation. So you change your gender marker and you change your name if you want to. That's basically it. That's legal transition. Physically transitioning is what people generally think of. It includes getting on hormones, it includes getting surgeries, so like maybe getting a breast augmentation or a breast reduction, or getting phalloplasty, or maybe a vaginoplasty or a vaginectomy. All of those things are covered under kind of physical transition. And when people kind of talk about how it's okay for kids to transition, a lot of people assume that they're talking about physically transitioning. And that's generally not what people are talking about. Because, a kid that's 6 years old, whether or not they are trans, have not gone through any kind of puberty yet, and will not go through any kind of puberty yet until maybe the ages between 10 and 16. No person in their right mind is going to pump testosterone or estrogen into a 6-year-old kid. That's not happening. So you can all rest easy, that's not happening. Equally, nobody's going to be cutting up, a 6-year-old's chest. They haven't even started developing breasts or anything like that. No secondary sex characteristics have happened, so they're not going to be changed at all. What I do think is okay, and which is kind of also controversial, is whether kids should be able to take hormone blockers. So hormone blockers, basically, they do what they say they're gonna do. They're gonna block your hormones, and it basically just puts a pause on your puberty, on your natural puberty. So, for example, if I had taken hormone blockers before I was going through puberty, I would not have developed breasts, I would not have stopped growing, I wouldn't have started my menstrual cycle, that kind of thing. Puberty blockers are temporary, and once you come off puberty blockers, your natural kind of natal puberty will just start. It won't be affected. So if I, went on puberty blockers as a kid, or before my puberty, and then after a while, maybe I was like, okay, maybe I'm not trans, or maybe I do want to go through with this puberty whether or not I'm trans, right? You can just come off of hormone blockers and it'll just start right up. So nobody is making like a 10 to 16-year-old kid choose at that time. Because I know that's kind of a big part of why it's controversial, because people think that, you know, they're too young to make this decision, or, you know, to really know how they feel. So that's why I think it's okay to put kids on hormone blockers. And then in most kind of countries and states and provinces and territories, to get on hormones or to have surgery, you have to be either of legal age, so either 18 or 19 depending on where you are, or you have to have the consent of your parents. After all of that explanation, my opinions are that I think that, you know, kids, remember, this ages from 3 to, you know, 14? Did I say 14 or 16? I don't know. But whatever that age range that I established as kids should be able to socially transition. I think that is harmless. I think it's fine to do. Yeah, nothing wrong with that. I think that people should be able to go on hormone blockers if that's what they feel is right. Put a pause on their puberty and kind of figure out whether they want to go ahead with that kind of natural puberty, or if they want to take hormones later on in life and have that kind of puberty. I do not agree with, you know, pumping testosterone or estrogen into little kids. Like, that nobody thinks that. Nobody thinks that is a great idea. I don't think that it's good to have, you know, cut up little kids, you know, to, you know, have them have surgery before there's anything to do. And transition should not be taken lightly, though I doubt that anybody's really doing that, because, you know, people detransitioning is a thing. There's nobody denying that that's a thing. There are some people that, you know, start hormones, get surgeries, what have you, and then later in life they either regret it or they just figure out that this is not the path that they should have or want to be on. But I also think that just because there are some people who have made choices that they regret or, you know, was not the right path for them, that we should restrict these medical things for other people. So yeah, in conclusion, social transition for kids, good. I think that's great. Legal transition for kids, yeah, sure. I mean, you can change your name and gender marker back. It just costs money. So if you have the money and you want to do it, you know, at whatever age and your parents' consent, then fine. Physically transitioning for kids, I think that hormone blockers are fine, you know, for people from, like, I don't know, ages 10 to 18. And other physical transition hormone things, I think, are best left for later on in life. If you have anything to say, leave it in the comments. Ooh. Anyway, my name is Harper, and I'm signing out. See ya.